All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking NFL football. The season is over, but the world of the NFL doesn't stop. News always keeps going, the world keeps it turning, and the man who is going to be around for it all, he's going around the world in about 80 days. Maybe not. My co-host, Fresh. How you doing, buddy?
Perhaps I can't believe it's February 16th and we have already gone through the entire football season, college, pro, Super Bowl's over. Now we're in a combine and draft stock season, which is actually probably more intriguing than preseason or even half the season itself. But it's kind of that lull, ready to recycle it and get back to the new schedule here.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit. Fresh, let's go right to the Super Bowl. Biggest talk on this here. Let's just address this. Earlier in the week during Super Bowl week, Roger Goodell comes out and says that officiating in the NFL has never been any better. And then we have a call, apparently, I guess the right call, apparently, to the from the officials and from Bradbury, the player, said they did grab the jersey. Your thoughts on the current state of officiating, especially in the Super Bowl in the NFL?
Well, I think with that play, and you look at the Super Bowl itself, there was very few penalties all across the board, but they were letting the guys play. I think that's where the whole flag, the last drive, gets everyone's kind of nerve. Is that they were letting the guys play the entire game, and then they called that kind of foul. He didn't. He got a hold of the jersey, but it didn't grab him too much. But you kind of hoped in that moment after the way the game had sort of been playing that they would have let that one kind of slide. But they got tough. They made their call. I mean, it is a hold. It is what it is. I think officiating has been ridiculed and brought to a higher light with uh, more TV spotlights, more instant replay, more eyes on it. Where in the past you didn't have to worry about replay, the game sort of watched, and now you have some more cameras and showing angles and slowing it down. It makes it so much more profound on if there's something missed or potentially missed. Now there have been egregious calls in the past that have not been made. I think the Rams Saints playoff game where the Rams defensive back is basically tackling the Saints receiver in that championship game, or the wild card game or divisional round, whatever it was, and they didn't call a flag. So there are some pretty egregious times, but we start getting the ticky tack points. We start slowing it down and getting what was actually happening instead of the live play of the game. I think we're kind of overdoing it a little bit, because you're always going to have both sides of the story, whether it's a great call or not a great call, but somehow it comes back and hits them later. I think officiating's been good. It's very tough to be perfect because there is so much else being added on where you can stop a play and review it at thousands, 1,000 speed and get it to a minute detail when the guy's trying to watch it and watch, 22 total players or watch his segment of the field and try to get it right. I think it's worse though when we highlight on these one play where the guy's looking directly at him, and that should supersede the overall officiating we're seeing in the game itself. Because figure how many plays, how many players in the field, and how many things are called correctly. They do a pretty good job, but the one or two off, especially in big critical situations that do become like this, um, make it seem like it's worse than it is. I don't think it's perfect. You're never going to have perfect. But it's pretty good. I'm not going to say it's horrible. I'm not going to say it's fantastic, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, you're about ready to get accused of being a Chiefs fan here shortly. I'm sure in the comment section below. Uh, Fresh, it's really easy for us to sit here as fans to criticize officiating because, like you said, we can slow down the play of a game and see it frame by frame of what goes on with the hands, whether you're really impeding a route or not. And then these guys are calling it live on the field where it's a much faster product there. And they're looking for something that kind of indicates that. I sat there and I listened to Eagles fans, and I think that Eagles fans had a complaint. I don't know if I want to call it legitimate, but I wouldn't also call it a frivolous complaint either. So, but at the reverse side too is can we finally get to like what a catch is? Because I watched Dallas Goedert bobble a ball against himself as he's going out of bounds, and it's ruled as a catch. But then a guy makes what looks to be a catch and a maybe a football move, and then gets the ball knocked out of his hands, returned for a touchdown, but that's not a catch. So I can see where there's a lot of inconsistencies. People really harp on that. But again, being fans, we can slow it down. And I don't want to move to be having replay on every call and every moment because I don't want the games to take 5, 6 hours because it's just ridiculous. And I don't want to make any special rules for the Super Bowl. But guys, really, you let your team come down to one play and you want to blame the officials for one loss. I mean, there's so many other plays that go on there. The fact that you allowed Kansas City to drive down the field multiple times on you, the fact that you started to stall offensively, they're, the Eagles played a great game. They definitely deserve to be there. I think they'll be back. I enjoyed watching them play. They're a great team. We'll see what they do here. Coming this offseason, they got a lot of decisions to make. But again, guys, yeah, you can be frustrated with officiating, especially when calls don't go your way. At the same time, too, like don't put yourself in that situation.
Well, I think it's even bigger when you have playoff games or like the Fox or the CBS, game of the week, or the NBC, or ESPN. Like the primetime games get more cameras at the game. If it's a regular 1 o'clock game and it's not the primetime crew, you only might have like 6 cameras, maybe 10 cameras in the stadium. But when it comes down to like the Super Bowl, they have them on the pylons. They have cameras. They have the goal lines. They have cameras. The first down markers. They have cameras. They have sky cameras. Cameras in every corner. So they're getting all the different angles and making it even more scrutinized than what should be, as opposed to a regular season game. So some things that you might not have seen in a game in September are being seen now and being added on. So either you have all the cameras or you don't, or another alternative, which takes the pressure off. You have 2 guys up in a booth and they're the replay officials for every play. And if they see something, they stop the refs and they make the call. They take it out of the refs' hands, and that's it. So then the coaches don't have to worry about making challenges, and they're like, well, if I challenge here, I don't have my timeout later. Those sorts of debates become, critical. You just have someone take charge and say, hey, this is what it is, run it or leave it and move on.
I like the challenge rules though. Currently, I don't have a problem with them. All right,
Okay.
Fresh. So let's go here. Jalen Hurts. How much? If I'm Philadelphia, what's my number? Am I don't think I'm fully guaranteeing that thing Deshaun Watson style here. I don't know
Well,
if I'm going to 40 million here either. But how much you paying Hurts?
I he's not Mahomes' money. Let's put it that way. Um, I want to see. He's not. Burrow's going to pass him anyway because Burrow's going to get paid. But I would give him 40 to 45. Um, it's going to be interesting to see when he gets his contract up. Does he wait for like Lamar to get his deal and then try to supersede it, or is he become the one that sets the bar and Lamar jumps? Because they're always going to try to get higher than each other. Guaranteed money you can't have. That Deshaun Watson guaranteed money is going to cripple the Browns. Um, and I think that's what Lamar is trying to get. He's trying to get 110 guaranteed or something like that.
I
I
don't
think
know.
Jalen's worth it though. Jalen's definitely got it. I think 45 is a good number for him.
Would you rather
He's
have?
definitely he deserves to get paid.
So let's go here though. Let me ask you this question. We'll keep it in the NFC East here. Would you rather right now, after everything you've seen over the last couple of years, would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott leading your team?
Oh,
Age isn't a huge difference in this situation.
you know
Dak's
what? Give me Jalen. Give
yeah,
me Jalen. Um, Dak's gotten hurt a lot, and even in the playoffs, Dak has not shown up and got it done. Jalen has gotten his team to the playoffs 2 years in a row, and this time took him to the Super Bowl. Give me Jalen.
uh, my question is flip flop them on the teams. If you put Jalen Hurts on the Cowboys, what changes on the Cowboys? You put Dak Prescott on the Eagles, what changes on the Eagles? That's usually when how I kind of look at those things. But I'm just curious to see what you think because I think that's a really good talking point right now going into off season.
I think Jalen's a lot more athletic with his legs than Dak is. Dak's Mississippi State days, he was those are those are far gone. I think Jalen eventually Jalen will stop being as much of a runner. But he is definitely I think he has the grit and the camaraderie that has a team, and he can actually play through some pain, stay healthy. Dak's unfortunately been dealt with a lot of serious injuries.
So, Fresh, you ever been on a darkness retreat?
Um, not to the level of what's currently going on.
So, I don't even know what a darkness retreat is. I guess it's like one of those places where there's like no light whatsoever, and you just kind of are by yourself constantly with your thoughts. And takes a unique individual to go on a darkness retreat, but Aaron Rodgers is on one right now, and apparently he's going to be very much enlightened. The only thing I can think of this might be like the guys in Entourage going to Joshua Tree and having visions. So
I mean, it's kind of like the that '70s show, the opening scene where they're all sitting around and they just go person to person to person, except in a complete dark room. Um,
yeah,
I got a feeling that's kind of what it's like. There's gonna be a lot of hallucinations. Aaron Rodgers is gonna see foxes and and ostriches running around the room, and it's gonna be a whole thing. I can't wait to hear the description. Maybe he'll embellish a little bit, but I got a feeling he is doing some very lucid uh, devices and food and beverage like things.
all jokes aside, though, what's Rodgers going to do? He's going to retire, come back to Green Bay, going elsewhere.
He's he's not retired. There's no way. I mean, I don't care what he says on the Pat McAfee show of I have no problem retiring the Savior and going to the Hall of Fame as Tom Brady. He does not want to stand up there and have to listen to Tom Brady talk about how he's better than him and have everyone know it, and you be second fiddle. And also going with JJ Watt. He wants the show to be about himself. That's why this whole thing is about. This he's coming back to play, whether it's with Green Bay or not. Um, I think his legacy, he's always said from the very beginning, his legacy, he doesn't want to be like Brett Favre and leave. So he's gonna come back and play. I don't think he's gonna play. Why would you want to go to Oakland and play with that and deal with that? I mean, Vegas, sorry. Um, the team's actually worse off there, and you're playing a tougher division. So the playoffs, I think, are pretty far and few between in that perspective. You're not going to the Jets. He doesn't because that right there follows the Brett Favre lane. You go from Green Bay to New York. He doesn't want to go to follow the Brett Favre path. He doesn't want to go play for the Titans. Um, I don't think he wants to go play for Shane Steichen and the Indianapolis Colts. Um, they don't have. I mean, Michael Pittman's great. Michael Pittman's a two. His options are pretty limited, and I think coming back to Green Bay in the NFC, you give you a much better chance of making the playoffs. And if you're talking about legacy, staying with the Packers for his entire career, um, that makes the most sense to him. I think that's what's going to end up happening.
I don't know what it's going to cost to get Rodgers. That's my question, especially with his age up there as well. So, like, are you going to be able to get a first round pick for him? Like he is
No
at the
doubt.
very end of his career here. We're talking 3 or 4 years left. I wouldn't be shocked to see him retire. Like it wouldn't surprise me just because he marches to the beat of his own drum. I could see him being like, you know what, I could be on the McAfee show. I could be on ESPN or Fox Sports One, or I could be a YouTube TV commentator for the new Sunday Ticket. I could do any of that, and people would watch him because he is an entertaining guy. But I just, I don't know. I think I kind of get the feeling this time might be done in Green Bay. I really do. But if you told me like, hey, so where's he gonna go? I could see a place like maybe Carolina or Atlanta, something like that. But I don't know if they have the weapons to surround him as well. The other one I could think of is Tampa Bay. And I know you people are going to go, nah. But if you look at the offensive weapons that are surrounding them, and then put Aaron Rodgers, because while Tom Brady is still Tom Brady, 45-year-old Tom Brady was not our normal what we expect him to be. Like we were starting to see the cliff fall off on that one. I would love to see him with a guy like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and that whole attack there as well. I think they could put up some points and playing that soft South right now. The other area, maybe like a place like New Orleans.
I mean, I could see. Well, first of all, Green Bay, they've already said they're not trading in the NFC, so those options are all off the table. they've already come out and said that he's not going to the NFC. So he would have to somehow they would have to take on the full cap and take and give back a ton for him to go there. But the Tampa Bay would be interesting if you can go down there and play with Tom Brady's toys and see if he can do better, even though Tom Brady won a Super Bowl. I think if he goes anywhere, it's the Packers or somewhere in the AFC. He's not going for a rebuild. He's going for 1 to 2 years to finish out his career and be done. That's why I think he's just going to stay with the Packers and keep playing it out.
Yeah. $1 million man, though, said every guy's got his price. So we'll see. All right, Fresh. Another quarterback on the move. Derek Carr cut. Where's Carr end up?
I think he's going to the Saints. When the Commanders I thought were another alternative, and the Jets are interesting. But when you have Andy Dalton and James Winston's probably going to get cut, and Dennis Allen was his first coach when he was in Oakland and started out, it just makes too much sense. And you just mentioned it earlier. The NFC South is so winnable. You don't know what you're going to get in Carolina. Don't know what you're going to get in Atlanta. Tampa now with Tom Brady gone. The Saints have a great defense, a lot of veteran players, even though Alvin Kamara probably going to be suspended or doing some jail time to start the next season. You have a chance to at least win and compete and go to the playoffs. And the NFC is not as strong as the AFC. So it gives you a clearer path if you have a chance. And I think that would be intriguing for Derek Carr.
I think it'll be interesting to see who winds up kind of jockeying for that position. You know where I could legitimately see him landing? It would be a place like Tennessee. I could see you surrounding him with Derrick Henry in that run game. They'd need to put some better weapons around him over there, but it'd be intriguing to see him at Tennessee because I think Tennessee will eventually move on from Tannehill here shortly. But I don't know that for a fact, but I kind of get that feeling as well. So
Definitely. I think Malik Willis, the way he didn't even get playing time was a big statement on his part where he's not ready. And Rodgers and Carr are very similar. They can pick wherever they want to play if they want to play, and they're going to force their hand. I think they can do it. I think Carr's going to wait for Rodgers because he knows what other options will pop up. But they can go for a contender, and uh, I think they're going to be very happy and play it out and give themselves a chance.
yeah, I could see Carr going to the NFC though too, like very easily. I think he goes to NFC, and I think that Aaron Rodgers could possibly play for another NFC team. I don't know who. Probably definitely not someone in the NFC North for sure, but crazier things
Hey,
can happen.
if the Packers make him mad, Rodgers could go to New York for 1 year and then demand a trade and go to the Vikings and really piss off the Packers.
Yeah. Well, at least it's not going to the Bears. All right, Fresh. We're coming into the season here. New league year. Getting into draft season. Is it going to be? Do you think we're going to see a flurry here? Do you think there's going to be a lot of money spent? Cap's about ready to take a nice little bump here because of the new TV revenue that's coming in. I think it's going to be an interesting offseason, but I actually think it's going to be a pretty quiet offseason.
Well, if you look at the most recent thing, I think 17 or 18 teams were well over the projected cap, even after it got bumped up and significantly. So that right there means a lot of high-priced veterans are going to get the axe and get released here, whether it's now or wait for June 1st. But there's going to be a lot of movement, and that means you're going to get like guys like DeAndre Hopkins, who after that PED violation, his no trade clause was voided, so now he could be shipped out or released. You got Jalen Ramsey might be shipping out. I don't think the Rams are ready, especially if Aaron Donald retires. Are the Rams going to rebuild mode? They're going to be up. They're way up against the cap. They don't have many draft picks. They've got to be flexible and figure stuff out there. You're going to see a lot of big names getting moved and released and creating more of a frenzy in March than I think we even projected. Because right now there's not enough free agents, if you will, at this point. But once these all start getting released for cap situations, that's when you're going to start seeing the feeding frenzy. And I think it's also going to play into the quarterback draft and who's going to be best suited to either sign a quarterback or go out and draft one. Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, we'll talk about more when we get to the draft. I'm not sold on either of them, but they're going to be hot commodities. Both people are clamoring for top 10, top 20 picks on those guys. And then who gets Stroud or Bryce Young and moves in other ways. So it's going to be a domino effect. You start seeing stuff play out, and what impacts trades. I think, do the Bears trade Justin Fields, or do they trade down, keep Fields, and make another draft pick somewhere else? It's going to be I think it's going to be every year is going to be more chaos as we keep building up. Last year was chaos. This year's going to be more chaos, and it's going to be a flurry of moves all the way up to the first day of training camp.
If I'm Chicago, I'm on the phone with Houston right now. I would be working that deal. I would say, listen, here's what it's going to cost you. You can jump up to one. You don't have a quarterback. You need a quarterback. Where you're at, I definitely don't. I think you might be settling for Will Levis there at that point where they're sitting at. Give me both of your first round picks here. Give me another first next year. You can have the number one overall pick. That's 3 first rounds for the number one pick. That's a fairly good. Throw in a second or trade thirds or something like that. But if I'm Chicago, I'm blowing up Houston right now. But I'll tell you this, Fresh, and this is because we do so much with college football. I'll tell you this: any GM who is dumb enough, and I mean you are dumb enough to take Anthony Richardson out of Florida, you're fired. You just fired yourself. Like you are that stupid that you are firing yourself because this kid is not ready for the league. This kid is not ready for the league. He's not ready for the NFL at all. Yeah, he's got all of the measurables. Great, superb, wonderful. But the dude can't complete a pass. People we wind up watching Florida play quite a bit. And I sit there and I tell people, I go, listen, you had talent at Florida, and the SEC East was realistically down to 2 teams most of this year. Like it was Tennessee and Georgia for most of this year. Florida had, if you go talent for talent wise, Florida had at least, I don't know, I would say definitely at least third talent level of kids coming in there. But you shouldn't be 6-7 on this year. And if Anthony Richardson was worth his salt at all, one, he wouldn't have split carries or snaps with Emory Jones 2 years ago, and two, this year Florida wouldn't have gone 6-6 in the regular season with him.
I think he's an athlete, which people get tantalized. They always be that guy who, oh, I got the athlete. I got the athlete. Look, to put it in the NBA terms, nobody really thought Giannis was going to be a stud. Bucks took him at 13, 15, somewhere in the middle of the first round. It's like a project. They got lucky. But how many other players are taken as projects in the NBA draft and are complete busts, and everyone knows they're going to be a bust from the very start? You got the diamond in the rough. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be that diamond in the rough that Giannis was. He's going to be a guy who people fall in love with what he looks like in shirts, in shorts, and on the practice field. Very similar to Zach Wilson. He can throw a pretty ball when no one's around. He can run away from people, but running away from guys in college and running away from guys in the NFL, they're a lot faster. I don't care if you play in the SEC or not. The NFL speed is faster than in college football, and they're going to run you down in a heartbeat. That's I guess why Lamar Jackson's so rare is that he could do it, but he does get beat up when he gets hit. He hasn't finished the last 2 seasons. So you have an athlete who can make plays around his body, but can he actually withstand all the hits he's eventually going to take? Because you're going to get hit a lot more in the NFL than you did in college, and that wear and tear is going to wear on you. And the arm skill's not there. The mental capacity to understand defenses and break it down and make the right throw is going to take a while there. I don't think he's worth a top 10 pick. The Raiders, if you're trying to win, he's not the answer. Commanders, obviously not the answer. Panthers, does Frank Reich want to coach him? I don't think so. Um, Tampa, I've heard rumors of. Do the Ravens draft him as a backup plan for Lamar Jackson in case he leaves? Where do these scenarios go? I just don't think he's worth all the hype. And after seeing what some of these other athlete quarterbacks and then not adapting, Desmond Ritter's kind of struggled in his first year. Malik Willis didn't even see the field. Why are you going to waste a top 10 pick on Richardson when, as we've seen, you need a full team to win a Super Bowl, not just at the quarterback position?
Yeah, and both of those guys you just named were third and fourth round picks. Like Desmond Ritter, as we both know, tape will show. I was a huge fan of that Cincinnati team last year. I really liked watching him play. I was a big fan of Desmond Ritter coming out because I thought he did the right thing. He played the game the right way. But I wouldn't say that I would hinge my job as a general manager, as a talent evaluator on him. I wouldn't hinge my job on Malik Willis as a talent evaluator. And I wouldn't hinge my job on Anthony Richardson as a talent evaluator. I'm To me, there's only two. If I'm in the top 10, it's Young and Stroud. That's it to me. Will Levis is going to get a lot of love coming into this draft, but I go back and I'll tell anyone this. If you are a person who's trying to talk yourself into Will Levis, I'm going to give you the game to go back and watch. Go back and watch Kentucky's game against Ole Miss this year. Ole Miss was a good team, not a great team. Lane Kiffin had that team really like playing well. And watch how bad the Ole Miss defense confused Will Levis. Go back and watch the announcer saying throughout that game, and they're even calling him out, going, he has these opportunities to make the players around him better, and he didn't. He had an opportunity to win that game. That game was really close going into the fourth quarter. If you're talking yourself into Will Levis right now, go back and watch that football game. Go watch the tape on that game and just sit back and you'll see where you start to go, I'm not a huge fan of this here. And I know other quarterbacks will have bad games. I know, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, you can find a tape and say, the guy didn't really play that well. This was a game when the opportunities were clearly there. It was a nice day. Sun was shining, 12 o'clock noon down in Mississippi there, and Will Levis was not making the players around him better. That's what really concerns me. Now, if I'm sitting in the mid 20s and he's staring at me and I need a quarterback, I might roll the dice there. But if I'm a top 10, top 15 pick, pass. There's a lot of other players I like.
You know who Richardson kind of reminds me of? Mariota, Vince Young, Johnny Manziel. They have athletic ability, and in college they were phenoms. Like there's no arguing that they're all three of those guys are college Hall of Famers. But eventually, the speed of the NFL catches up with them, and their ability not to read a defense. And their only real thought was in college to use my legs and then create. When the legs start losing it, the guys are faster. You can't read a defense with your eyes and make a throw. That's when you get destroyed.
Yeah. All right, Fresh. Anything else you got?
I got one question for you. Talking about bad quarterbacks or overrated quarterbacks. Right now we got some quarterbacks in the past couple of years been taken in the first round and maybe not up to snuff. I know we've had a couple of bad drafts, but I want you to tell me which of these quarterbacks I'm about to list will actually, when it's all said and done, have the best NFL career. First off, Jordan Love. Second, Mac Jones. Third, Zach Wilson. And four, I'm going to throw two in there because two has had some injuries. And then Trey Lance. We'll give you five quarterbacks right there.
All right, so
Give me who's going to have the best NFL career when it's all said and done, and then even rank them 1 through 5 is how you think that they'll finish.
let me make sure I got them all. Mac Jones, Tua, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, and Jordan Love.
Yep.
So here's the thing. So two of the five right now we really haven't seen on the field enough. Trey Lance looked okay when he played. Now, outside of Brock Purdy having his arm basically fallen off, anyone, as they showed, that is decent at playing quarterback and at least good enough to be on an NFL roster can have success in that San Francisco offense. Right now, if I was a betting man, I would say Trey Lance will probably have the best career just because of the system he's in. And again, I think that's more or less the fact that he is in San Francisco. Now, my mind will change if he leaves San Francisco. Like, say they decide that they're going to roll with Brock Purdy, or they go, you know what, we would prefer Jimmy Garoppolo than Trey Lance at this point. Then I'll change my view on Trey Lance. But as long as Trey Lance is in San Francisco, he's my number one. I haven't seen enough of Jordan Love. Like he's the mystery box. So he is the mystery box. And I've seen Mac Jones, Tua, and Wilson play. Wilson's definitely fifth for me. So I'd go Lance is one. I'll say Jordan Love is two just because of the mystery box mentality there. So I'll take that. Give me Mac Jones because he's got Belichick. I can't wait to see what Bill O'Brien does with that offense in New England because I know he took a lot of criticism for the offense in Alabama. Alabama was still 11-2 and still in it all year long. Put up video game style numbers on offense for the last 2 years. Bill O'Brien's a good offensive coach. He's a good offensive coordinator. He's a tough guy. I'm a big fan of his. I thought that he could be up for one of the marquee college positions this year, but it also was, I think his heart's still in the NFL. I still think he wants another shot to be a head coach in the NFL. So it doesn't shock me. So I'm going to go Mac Jones number 3. Tua is going to be 4. Tua concerns me because of the concussions now. I think someone needs to sit him down and go, okay, how much money do you have right now? What do you got invested? Like, did you save? And this, that, and the other. And I might have the conversation, buddy. One more concussion, and that's got to be it for you, bud. Like, he's at the point where I'm starting to worry about his long term health. I get it. We're not playing patty cake here. This isn't badminton. This isn't peekaboo, whatever it is. This isn't two-hand touch football. It's a physical, violent game. But someone's going to need to sit down with Tua and have a legit conversation just for his long-term health there as well. So that would be my 5, right, like that, with Zach Wilson and his love for the older ladies as number 5.
Hey, I would actually put Zach Wilson at like 10. I would have like a 5 of like unknown random guys and then put him. I mean, he's been absolutely horrible. I do agree with the Tua thing, and it's not because he has to play. The play in the field, the way he can throw the football, you saw what he could do with Waddle and with and Tyreek Hill. He has that ability to control the huddle, but the health is the scariest thing. And I don't know how long is he can actually be able to play. And you start worrying about personal safety. He had injuries there at Alabama, the concussions in the NFL. That's the biggest concern I have for him. Mac, I think he's third by default in that situation. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have Trey Lance and Jordan Love. They just have him get on the field to see what they could do. And, they could be bust. They could be good. They could at least be competent, because we've all seen every single year we go through this conversation. There's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, but there's only really maybe 15 really good quarterbacks. And after that, it's a complete toss-up for the other 17 to 25 that might get a snap during the season.
Yeah. All right, Fresh. Let me ask you one last question before we go. Who's playing in next year's Super Bowl?
So it's in Vegas, but I'm already going to cross off the Raiders and say the Raiders aren't going. From the AFC, the American Football Conference, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills, only if they actually go out and get a number 2 receiver. Gabe Davis is not a number 2. They've got to help out Stephon Diggs. If they can get another 2 receiver and actually get a better passing game, they will be in the Super Bowl playing in Vegas. And on the NFC side, give me the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, Bills in Vegas. That'll be quite of a party right there.
Nice. Interesting to see who you pick on there.
What about you? Do the
Hmm.
Browns make the playoffs next year? Let's start there. We'll go with
Yes.
that question.
Yes, the Browns make the playoffs next year. Browns schedules, this is the one nice thing about finishing 4th in the division this year. They get the 4th place schedule, even though they finished 7-10. And then on top of that, their AFC conference that they play is the AFC South next year. So I think Jacksonville's over the cap. They've got some real tough decisions to make with that team. Uh, Tennessee is on the down. Indianapolis is on the down, and Houston's on the down. I right there really makes me feel pretty good about things. Um, Pittsburgh's got a lot of work to do. You got Pittsburgh twice, even though you split with them this year. Uh, I'm interested to see what happens with Lamar Jackson, and Cleveland plays Cincinnati tough. Cleveland
Well,
put the boots to Cincinnati this year, so we'll see. But I'd say yes, the Browns will make at least the playoffs next year. What the heck? I'll pick this. Give me the Browns versus. Oh God, who can I pick out there just to make it a little bit ridiculous? You know what? Let's do a whole Super Bowl of no one who's ever been there. Browns and Lions.
I knew you were gonna do the whole up there. Yeah, if that, all right, folks, you know it's February 16th, 2023. We've had the 49ers versus Bills and the Lions Browns predictions for the Super Bowl. Set them in stone, lock it. Cleve, 4 fan bases start making your plans for AFC and NFC Championship game weekend. You're going to be there.
Yeah, if the Browns and Lions are in the Super Bowl, let's just go. Let's just go. Like
Oh,
we'll drop it.
that,
I'll
that
be back.
well, I if Browns and Lions fans might pay, they probably pay like $85,000 a piece to get a ticket. Like they would pay out their life savings to go.
Probably. Probably. I don't know if I could. If I'm surrounded by Browns fan, I think I'd be able to watch it. But if if I'm not, I don't think I could watch by. I'd have to watch by myself. But
Vegas has seen some crazy stuff, but if the Browns and Lions made the Super Bowl and their fan bases just descended on Vegas, or that'd be chaos.
yeah, so I'd love it though. That'd be awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. Remember, we're part of Spinnable Sports, so make sure you go to spinnablesports.com. Yep, that is spinnablesports.com. Like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Good Pod, Stitcher, I don't know. There's a bunch of them. If you're watching this on the YouTube, hit that notification bell, subscribe to the channel. We have some interesting stuff coming out here in the next few weeks, so you don't want to miss a single moment of it. There's definitely some new stuff coming out here, whether it's March Madness, whether it's a couple of interviews we might have lined up, whether it's talking about college football realignment. But one thing for sure, we learned our lesson last year. No baseball talk this year. So if you're a baseball fan, yeah, we're skipping on the baseball. But make sure you like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from, and that notification bell. Make sure you get notified every single time we drop a new episode. Leave us that 5-star review because you know Fresh and I, we're those 5-star prospects. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. And yeah, there you go, Fresh. I'm done.
And don't forget, a lot of great articles are on spinnablesports.com of all sports. So if you do have a baseball craving and you don't want to listen to us talk about it, we have a bunch of stuff there: baseball, basketball, football, whatever you want. Check out the website. Keep on the podcast. Spread the word. One day closer to March Madness, Seth. One day closer.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. That's my favorite 3 weeks of the year. I love March Madness. I'm gonna have an interesting, and it's time to bring back the hostile takeover.
Get hostile. Always go with the over. All right, buddy. Another fun one. Everyone else, talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.